Hello there and welcome back to Regiments. Regiments is getting a new DLC. It's coming on August 16th, and in this video we're going to have a quick overview of what you can expect from that DLC, what sort of new stuff they're adding. Because they're adding quite a lot. So, let's have a look first at some of the new units that are coming up in this new DLC. Regiments already had quite a few different divisions that you could play with, or, well, rather, regiments. We had the Soviets, we had East Germany, we had Poland, and now we also get Czechoslovakia. You might experience a bit of overlap between some of the units that are in the Czechoslovakian section, as with, for example, the Soviets or the East Germans, because, well, they were mostly using the same material. However, I do believe that the OT-65 Alpha Vidra is a Czechoslovakian native vehicle. This is one of the new vehicles that you can find in the reconnaissance platoons, and, well, normally recon tends to have a fairly weak weapon, like a machine gun. This thing, and yes, I am running a preview version, it says Error Weapon RR. A recoilless rifle, it does have a decent bit of range to it, so with this you can even bite back. We also have the T-55 AM1 Kladovo, a slightly different version of the T-55 AM2, I believe. And, of course, you're going to be finding something like this one. You might recognize it from Wargame. I do believe that Blitzwar loves to rush these things into your lines and just completely trolls everybody who plays ranked, but more on that on his channel. Definitely not a particularly effective anti-air vehicle, but hey, if you fly your helicopter over this thing, it's still going to have a bad time. As for the infantry, of course, there is the Czechoslovakian Vzetkari. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And we also have the Strelchi, a couple of infantry squads. OT-62s, of course, part of the deal. These guys are currently classed as command units, so with that, they will drastically improve the performance of nearby vehicles and other units. We also get access to French units. They were not in yet. You got the Jaguar A. This is probably a duplicate because I'm running the preview version. We, of course, have the Gazelles in various versions. This is the HOT. This is the 20mm version, most likely used for, let's say, infantry suppression, maybe doing some damage against some of those BTRs. We have the standard Recon Gazelle, which does not come with any firepower of its own. We have the AMX-10RC, one of my favorite vehicles. It is sneaky, it is fast. It has, well, almost no armor. Front armor, 3. Side armor, 2. Like, this thing is not going to take a punch. But it is very punchy itself for a reconnaissance unit. You also got the ERC-90, which is the same speed as the AMX-10RC, but this thing is only packing a 90mm gun. Nevertheless, with 50% accuracy, if you can sneak up on some units with a reconnaissance unit, or maybe get some flank shots off, that can still deal quite a lot of damage. Other units, of course, are the AMX-30s. The AMX-30B and the B2. The B2 being the slightly better version. It has advanced night vision. It has maximum speed of 75 kilometers an hour. The different version of the VAB, the unarmed one. Sorry, this is the 7.62. This has the 12.7mm. And then we have the VAB with the HOT missiles, the HOT 2 HGMs. So if you need something which has armor, well, anything really that has wheels or tracks dealt with, the VAB HOT can do that. Quite a lot of anti-air options. The Roland, the AMX-13 DCA, the VAB 2013. Yeah, believe it or not, this is an anti-air vehicle, apparently. I would actually expect these to be infantry carriers, because I believe that that's what their original intent was. But this thing is currently classed as an anti-air vehicle. TRM 2000. Not particularly going to be effective. It's basically a converted truck. And we have the 53 T2. I haven't tried this thing out yet. I'm curious how it moves across the battlefield. And maybe gets dropped off by a vehicle. As for other units, we have the TRM for supplies. You got the 155 French gun, the AUF-1. And for the infantry, you got the Fusiliers and the Marine. Not a whole lot of diversity in infantry. I mean, this is not Wargame, this is not Warno. It doesn't revolve around the infantry that much. Infantry, I'd say, is almost attached to a vehicle, as opposed to the infantry coming out of the vehicle. They always work together. Next nation, Belgium. These guys have some different aircraft. They got the Mirage 5BA and the F-16, so you got quite a bit of punching power with these units, and I do really like the graphics on this game. I like the look of it. We have the Alouette for reconnaissance helicopter duties, and for reconnaissance duties on the ground, you got the Scorpion, the Scimitar, and the Spartan. Spartan, probably going to be a bit cheaper. It does not come with a lot of armor. One side armor, two front armor. It comes with only a 7.62, so this is very much a passive spotter. This thing might be a bit more of an active spotter with the autocannon, and the Scorpion has the 76mm gun. From what I recall from Wargame, these things are horribly inaccurate, but in this game they actually have 50% accuracy, which is pretty good. Then, they got the Leopard 1BE, the Leopard 1 Belgium. Interestingly, no Leopard 2. So these guys are going to have to probably rely on those airstrikes a bit more, because as I'm looking at the rest of their group, they don't have that much firepower. Like, their staying power from their tanks is limited. They do have the AIFV-B25C2, which is their infantry fighting vehicle with a 25mm autocannon. That is very nice. They also got the B version, which just comes with a 12.7mm or a 50 cal. Flakpanzer Gepard. Nice NTR unit. And you can see that the French have a ton of options and the Belgians just go, nope, we got one, period. And this thing will have to do the job against both enemy fighter planes, enemy bombers, enemy helicopters, and of course, if you're in a pinch, enemy ground units. Artillery, M109A3 and the M113 mortar carrier. HEGM is a striker vehicle. Again, from Wargame, I used to hate these things. Anytime I see swing fire, I still recoil because their accuracy was so bad. But Regiments says, nope, these guys have 85% accuracy. So this swing fire might actually be a lot more deadly than at least I generally recall from Wargame. AIVB Milan carrier. It has the Milan 2 with HGMs. The HGM range is 2000 here versus the Striker's 2800. So if you're facing, let's say, Russian tanks, which might have an HGM on it, this is going to be safer. The JPK-90 is a tank destroyer. With that 90mm gun, you can definitely punch through some armor. It has heat rounds. It also has HE frag, so you can definitely use it against infantry as well. And infantry can be quite annoying in this game. I find that tanks don't deal with it nearly quick enough, so this thing is definitely going to be useful. Supply vehicle, and then we have the Fusilier, the Voltigeur, and the fire support unit. These guys have a lot of different stuff. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to work in the game, because I haven't tested the Belgians nor the French out yet. But these guys have the Milan 2, the Red Eye, and the Red Eye. So, well, this is the Red Eye Plus, actually. So by the looks of it, they have quite a lot of fire support. And then there's Canada. They got the CF-188, the Hornet, or at least the Canadian Hornet version. We get a a recon helicopter, the 136. We also get a transport helicopter, because the Canadians get airborne infantry, which is a completely new mechanic. This is something that regiments did not have. So this is going to give Canada quite a lot of options with maneuverability, more so than other nations, because they cannot transport their troops around as quickly. You got that 135, and then of course the 136 for actual recon. We got the Cougar. This one is a reconnaissance fire support vehicle, bit of both, 76mm gun. The Lynx RV, mostly passive spotter with a 50 cal on top of it, and we have the Iltis TOW, which has, of course, the TOW 2 HEGM, 90% accuracy. This thing does a lot of damage. This thing is very, very deadly against your tanks. So if you have the opportunity, I recommend you taking these guys out first if you see them on the battlefield and you have a bunch of armor. The Canadian Leopards are the Leopard C1. I still really like the look of the turret, because it is just a bit different from the Dutch and the Belgian Leopards. Yes, I'm getting to the Dutch in a minute. Look at the Grizzly for transport, nice wheeled vehicle. Tends to be slightly less armored, but that mobility can make up for a lot. M113 if you do seek a little bit more armor, and the Iltis if reconnaissance is going to be useful. Because, well, they don't really have much, but they do have pretty decent vision range. And they got advanced reconnaissance at night with their advanced night vision. Anti-tank, the M113TUA and the tow carrier. This one fires the ITO, this one fires the tow 2. So this one's definitely geared towards the higher end of the spectrum, whereas this one might still do very well against a couple of T-55s. Anti-air, ADATs. I love this thing. It can deal with pretty much anything, really. It can deal with basically ground units. It can deal with helicopters. It can deal with planes. And you can see that the range changes quite a bit. Ground units 2800, helicopters 44, and ADATs is 6600 meter range against planes. Accuracy all across the board is very good. 90, 85, and 75. This thing will do with most of the units. So how do you kill it? Well, it has absolutely no defense against infantry. As for the rest, we have a command unit, not that special. We got the M1IA4, not that special. We got a supply vehicle, and we have the standard infantry, as well as the airborne and the fire support. These have the Javelin. The Javelin, in this case, I believe is the anti-tank version. Although it does HE damage, I'm not really sure if we're targeting planes. I think we're targeting planes with this thing. Because it has 6 HE suppression or pen. It doesn't say anything about heat. So I'm taking it that this thing is going to be... Well, it says ATGM designers. I'm not sure. It could be AT. Could be AA. And then we have the Dutch. Makes me happy. We have the F-16A. You have the BO-105C recon helicopter. And we have the reconnaissance M113C and V. Command and Verkenning. For those Dutch of you, which is command and reconnaissance. V is verkenning / reconnaissance in Dutch. They have only a 25mm autocannon. They're made out of tissue paper. They don't have a lot of armor. But with that 25mm autocannon, I do find that they're pretty useful against units such as infantry. Tank-wise, in recon tabs, that is, we have the Leopard 1V. These actually have advanced night vision and pretty damn good vision overall. Especially if you compare that to the Leopard, which has thermal and 2000 meter range. So the Leopard 1V definitely has some better reconnaissance options. Or at least different. I'm not sure if thermal is considered advanced or better. The game doesn't really specify that. As for the other tank options, we also have the AMX-13-105. It's a reconnaissance vehicle, I believe. Well, it sits under recon. And it has good vision, but only basic night vision. So if this thing is at night, it won't do as well as the Leopard 1V. Rate of fire on these things is good. 7.8 rounds a minute rate of fire versus 6.9. So the rate of fire with these is quite good, and it's a small unit, but that comes at a price. It almost has no armor. Mechanized infantry unit, the Leopard 2A4. Whoops. Leo 2A4NL. Punchy tank. Very capable of defending itself because it has quite a lot of armor. 17 on the front, 18 on the turret. And this thing definitely holds its own with a 120mm gun, which is very accurate and can be definitely used on the move. As for the rest of the units over here, the Dutch use the YPR 765 quite a lot. PRI stands for Panzerrupsinfanterie, which basically means it's a tracked vehicle that transports infantry. And then you got the PRI 50 cal, as well as the PRAT, which is the Panzerrups anti-tank, or let's say tracked vehicle. And I'm not sure why they're basically calling it a caterpillar, but well, I guess that's essentially what tracks are. They're caterpillars, and these things, of course, deal with tanks, because they got the tow 2s. You also have the YPR 765, there it is again. PRCO, this is their command unit. And when it comes to infantry, you don't get a whole lot of options, but you do get the Fusiliers. So you get quite a lot of new units in this DLC, but there's also a new game mode. Let's have a look at that. The new game mode is called War Paths. These are basically dynamically generated operations, and you can set how long you want an operation to be. If you're feeling ambitious, you can go for 18 stages. I currently am running one which is just set for 6 stages. You can play as the NATO or the Warsaw Pact, and you can select which country you want. And for example, you can pick the French in this case. Then you pick which regiment you want to fight with. We got the Légeret Blindé, which is their, let's say, armored unit. It only has 1 unit of AMX 30s, so beware, it's not a tank group. D'Infanterie de Marine is their marine group. It is very mobile, but it has no tanks, at least not yet. Regiment de Cuirassiers, I hope I'm pronouncing that quite right, is the armored group. It has AMX 30 B2s, yet does not have a whole lot of infantry. You do get a pretty decent mix of units over here with the VAP 120mm mortar carrier and the AUF-1. Over here, however, you get the Gazelle. You might not have a whole lot of arty, but you get a very, very mobile group, and you have Gazelles to deal with tanks quickly. So with this, you can set up exactly what you want to fight. You can also set up who your opponent is going to be. You can say, well, I want to have the 2nd Northern Front, or let's say which of the enemy forces you want, or you can just have all of them. How many starting resources, unit counts, reinforcement price, and what is the regiment condition? It could be a damaged division, so that let's say you're already taking part in the war, you have already taken some damage, and in order to keep these guys fighting, you might have to spend some command points to get them back up to full health. Over on the right, you have, of course, some more options. We have advanced rules such as more time. If you keep a phase running for 30 more minutes, a phase running for 30 minutes, that means that one of these has the potential to run you for 9 hours. That's one operation. That is how long these things can get. Of course, if you take the short one, you can just take it in 1.5 hours. There's random events. This is something I do like running with because it allows this, well, quite a bit of diversity in the battlefield. You never quite know what's going to happen. You have bad luck. If you're feeling like you need an extra challenge, this can help because extra negative events will happen. And then you have high lethality. All weapons have a chance to inflict extra damage, up to ×2. Can be quite dangerous. If you're happy with your battle group, you can go to battle. And that is where the game takes you into the screen that you might know from the regular operations, where you can see what units you currently have. You'll also start off with 250 points of operational authority, and normally you can just easily spend these on buying, for example, additional deployment points, which means you can get more units into the field, you can buy more tactical supports, or TAC aids as the game calls them, you can bring them in more often. So this is basically the rate of income of tactical points. You can almost call them general's powers from way back in the day. How many supplies do you have? Engineer support is not really available right now. Or signals intelligence, which gives you more info on what units are coming in. You can also attach additional units to your regiment. You can call in additional reinforcements, such as a helicopter team. You can also get more arty, you can get more tanks. But keep in mind, you can also just keep these guys upgrading. You can get the basic level of the Chamboran command group, which gives you an HQ group. If you upgrade that, you'll also get a Roland, and you get an arty barrage, and if you upgrade those again, your AMX 10Ps become 2 of them, so you get more units, but that does come at a price. Keep in mind, if you're running with the game mode where your units actually don't have enough, you might need to refit them. This is one that, as you can see, is quite badly damaged. So those 250 authority points might look very appealing, and you might go, ooh, I want this battle group, and I want that battle group. This one's 500 points, by the way. You might want that, but the units that you currently have do need repairs. So keep that in mind as you're planning what units to bring. Because right now, yeah, you might still have some reinforcements, but not many. So if you're feeling a bit more cautious, you can just go for repairing these units, restoring them as it's called, not actually getting any additional units yet, and maybe getting some additional TAC supports. Because as the French, in this case, you get the Jaguar Napalm, which is a call-in, and you get the arty strike. These have a countdown of 2 minutes, these have a countdown of 2 minute 40, but they also require the points. 40 points for that, 25 points for this. So this particular regiment is probably going to benefit from getting additional TAC support points, which come at 75 points if you want to improve how many you get. So yeah, there's a lot of versatility in these battle groups. There is quite a lot of options that you can take. You could take, for example, the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, and that is going to give you some other units to play around with, such as the M1A1HAs. And then you can say, well, I want to attach another recon group to that. So M1IPs and Humvees with tows. Or you can go, nope, sorry, what I have right now is decent, but what I really lack is the opportunity to strike quickly with a bunch of helicopters. So you buy AH-1Fs. And then if you set up your operation to last, 18 hours, yeah, you can keep going for quite a while. After you've completed a stage, I am currently in phase 3, you sometimes also get more options. Right now I can just continue with the main plan, or I can go for rest and reorganize. This is going to allow you to get some of the units back. So let's say your unit has been really badly wounded, you can go for this, but it's going to come at the cost of victory points. That is unfortunate, because you need victory points in order to get the victory. You need 55 of them. And how you can get those is going to depend exactly on what type of unit, what type of operation that you're doing. So these warpaths, I really think that they're a very, very good addition to the game. They're definitely going to keep you going with the game quite a lot. Because the base, let's say the base operations, the base operations, they're good. Certainly, but there's not a whole lot of flexibility. You're just stuck with a unit that you get. The one thing that you could argue is missing / still missing from Regiments is multiplayer. This is purely a single player game, which might turn a lot of people off. However, with those warpaths, you can definitely play this a bit more relaxed. You can pause whenever you want, change your plans, change your tactics, keep those units flexible by just adding or upgrading to them whenever you see fit. And that's something that I really like about Regiments, this whole system. And I don't believe that you really get that anywhere else. I mean, yeah, to an extent in the Warno campaign, you can call in different units at different times depending on what your requirements are and what your playstyle at that moment requires. But it's not exactly the same as this, I would say. Anyway, this new DLC is coming on August 16th. Link down below in the description to the new DLC Steam page if you are interested. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think of the new DLC. I, for one, might be playing one of these warpaths, well, if I do find that I want to record it, you will potentially see it later on the channel. Thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more.